So let's talk food. With ranked being right on the horizon, we're going to be seeing the ranked mode come out quite soon, within the following week. And this is something that has been requested of me very extensively. And honestly, I wish it's something I could do and edit better. But I honestly do not have the knowledge to do so, nor the time. But I want to give that information for whoever wants it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to break down very common foods and the ways to get them and abuse them. So, to start this off, the main one we're going to be talking about here is going to be lighters. So, lighters let you create a ton of food for free, usually upwards to six food. So, what I mean by this is a lighter plus, say, a rock, right, will give you 3 heated stones. This in combination with the with a carp will give you 2 of each. This will give you 6 baked carp, and it's 600 healing. 600 healing is a good threshold to hit for mid to late game foods. This is going to give you crafting mastery, which is exactly what you're going to be wanting later on to the game, which gives you increased health. That's the best way to put it. So lighters also do a ton of things. And I'm not going to go too crazy. I want to make this try as simple as possible. But if you just click on lighter in the categories, you can see that also makes boiled water. With boiled water, you can make really strong SP foods, or SP drinks. So let's say boiled water and ice gets you purified water. That's 1080 SP regen. This is very notable when, let's say, a dock into a cemetery route. This will allow you to make purified water, which may not be the most common routing in the world, but you kind of get my drift here. This one you can aim for if you're playing characters such as Yuki, who is very SP reliant and runs out of SP very early on into matches, and you notice that you're probably just struggling, able to like stay topped off. Another thing you could do with boiling water, aside from the SP pots, you could also, which is a very common one, which is just a 1-zoner, by the way, from Ali alone, is you can boil it, and with ramen packets, you get to make hot ramen. And then with hot ramen and garlic, which you also find in Ali, will make you garlic ramen. Garlic ramen is crazy. It is 700 healing, which, like we said, 600 healing is a good threshold to hit. 700 is above that threshold, so it's clearly going to be very good. This is an incredible food if you can get it. If you have an early alley start, say you're someone like a shuriken build, like shuriken, Azure Dagger, Zahir, and alley is a common start for you, you could very easily make garlic ramen, assuming you find the extra lighter. Now here's the problem with lighters. They are in very high demand, and while there are a lot of lighters on the map, pretty much everybody wants them. There's no reason not to get them. They're part of builds, and they're used for food. So when you see a lighter in the early game, you're going to want to pick these up. Now, the last one to cover for lighters is going to be heated oil. Now, in my personal opinion, this is a little bit of a bait. You can do this with certain builds, and I will talk about which ones you would like to do this for. So, for example, if you are in a factory starting and you're not Jukai specific, because Jukai is very particular of how he wants to do things, you can make for curry croquettes, which are actually not a bad food. It is a lighter plus an oil and curry powder, which is all, as you can see here, all within factory. They're 550 healing. This is something you get 1 zone. It's very easy. It will keep you a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of mastery to people who are not crafting food. Now, granted, remember, when you are making food, you are falling a little bit behind, as people who are just moving around the map and getting just stuff faster is, well, they're going to be slightly ahead of you, but they aren't going to have food, so they can't really take those engagements, so they're a little less safe. They're kind of risking getting items over safety. So it really does depend on how you like to go about it, but this will clear out your inventory early on in factory and allow you to get those curry croquettes without an issue. So there's a lot of more you can do with lighters. So like the last one with boiled water, for example, is eggs. Eggs, as you probably may have noticed in this game, aren't really great and they're not used for much. But the one thing they are used for kind of consistently is boiled eggs, as they are 600 healing. And there are a few specific zones where you're going to find them. So if you are holding on to that boiling water, and let's say you went from, like, let's say dock into forest, right? You could make boiled eggs. You could also make Oriental concoctions. They're exactly the same. They're 600 healing, they're good foods, and you really should take advantage of these early power spikes with the food to keep you safer throughout the game. So that's lighters. So that's one of the many foods we could do with lighters. Oh, and I apologize, we are missing one. The biggest one that people, and this one is kind of the bait, the one I would recommend not to do most of the time unless you have the time for it. which is fish and chips. Fish and chips is the best healing item in the game by far, bar none. It is 900 healing. You get 2 of them, and it is going to be a ton of crafting, which is with a lot of crafting mastery. It is very, very, very strong. People do get in this mindset though, just because they have fish and chips, they're going to be safe. That is not the case. You will be safe, but, and there's a big caveat, but the healing only goes so far. You still need to be able to keep up in strength to everybody else on the map, and if you're not, you're going to be having a bit of an issue. So when do you go for fish and chips, in my opinion? The only time I really go for fish and chips is I'm able, throughout the game, and I'm able to hoard lighters and oil, and at one point in the game, maybe I was able to hold on to either cod or potatoes, and it's not a complete hassle for me to make these. Otherwise, what I would rather end up doing is using the lighter for those heated stones and just building a vast array of just good foods rather than spending a ton of time building really good food, if you get what I'm trying to say. Time is of the essence, and I'd rather use it to make the food stay consistent and just go and start farming. Because farming is what's going to inevitably keep you ahead and let you win the game, get control of cameras, build late traps, prioritize the late game properly. That is kind of more so what I would rather be doing with my lighters than make fish and chips. It's only usually when they fall into my lap is when I make them. Now, the other one I do want to talk about, the other big key component for food is butter, which is made out of milk. So, milk is massive. As you can see here, there isn't a whole lot of them on the map, but when you find them, they come in twos. So when you find a milk, you actually found 2 milks, which is really good. Milk with a branch makes butter. Butter by itself sucks, which is not what we're concerned here, but butter with, say, chocolate. Remember how garlic ramen was 700? Chocolate chip cookies is at 733. Now, it's just a little bit more healing, don't get me wrong, that's not the crazy thing here, but it also comes in pairs of 2. And again, this is a 1-zoner. This is an avenue. You can also find this throughout the map. It's very common to just hold on to milk and use it for other things, because the next biggest one, probably the most common one, is going to be butterfried potatoes. Butterfried potatoes are very, very, very easy to make, because once you have the milk, and let's say you go through 2 whole days, who cares? You can just grab potatoes at any point. They're always there, unless someone grabbed them, of course, but it's not common for them to all be gone. Usually only the ones that are completely gone are the ones in alley, and generally the ones in temple and pond are the ones that are still on the map. You can make butterfried potatoes, which are 650 healing, and that's a very solid amount, and it's also considered a double craft, meaning the crafting mastery goes up as well. Crafting does matter, and this doesn't take a whole lot of time to make. This is actually very easy, considering you're going to be wanting to hold on to milk the moment you find it early on. The mistake that people use is chugging the milk without needing to. If you are going to chug the milk, only do it if you absolutely have to, or if you are able to combine it with something. So let's say you can make a cowboy with whiskey, or you can make honey milk. Do not make chocolate milk. It's not very good. Please, if you have chocolate and milk, please make chocolate chip cookies. Unless you have a ton of food and you do not need any more food at all. You can also make a latte, for example. Now, there are other foods in this game that are more zone specific. So those 2 are the key components to making good food in this game. Now, I want to talk about zone specific foods that will really help you just boost your game up. So, the first one, Zen Vitality. Zen Vitality is made between acupuncture needles and herbal medicine. This is made between really only one build in the game, which is the Elegance Pistol build. This is going to be made between needles and alcohol, which, as you can see here on the map, it is actually made just in hospital alone. And then we need herbal medicine, which is oriental herbs, as we're seeing in Pond, and turtle shells. So if we're able to hold on to an acupuncture needle and a herbal medicine, we can make 2 Zen Vitalities, which is 850 healing, which is almost as much as fish and chips. And you can make that on zone 2, and that is a triple craft, by the way. So it's really, really, really good if you can make it. Granted, I will never try to make this late into the game unless it falls into my lap, because of the underlying issues of people are going to raid these zones super fast. So if you are a person like Iso or Aya or Sylvia that starts in hospital or pond, you are going to want to try to make these as early as humanly possible. Now, outside of those zones, you have Choco Pies. Choco Pies are incredibly strong. So as you can see already, we need bread, chocolate, and a box. We start with the game with the bread, so we don't have to worry about it. Chocolate is going to come from Archery Range, Avenue, and Uptown. And a box, well, guess what? Comes from Doc. So very common starts say like Yuki or Dio Scurry Jackie, for example, start Doc and then may path into Uptown later into the game. So if let's say you are a Dio Scurry Jackie, you can easily hold on to a box from Doc, and in the moment you path into Uptown, you can make your Choco Pies and use the box to make your Choco Pie box, which is 733 healing and another double craft, which is really strong. And I would highly recommend abusing this whenever you realize, oh wait, I have bread and chocolate, I can make a choco pie. Where along my route could I get a box? And as we see, boxes are actually in 3 zones, and they're in very, very common zones. So Pond being one of them, Chapel being another. It's uncommon to see Dock into Chapel, and then maybe if you go into a 3rd zone that has chocolate, so you need to teleport into Archery Range, just giving a wild example, this would be really good to hold onto as you can make the Choco Pie boxes. Now, the last big one I want to cover here, or the two big ones I want to cover here because they are very common, is mocha bread. So mocha bread is actually a food that you're going to see on a good amount of routes, but I don't feel like people don't abuse it enough. I personally don't abuse it enough. And this is one because you need coffee, alcohol, and your bread. So you have a starting bread already, so that's not much of an issue. Coffee comes from 3 zones. It's Cemetery, Uptown, and Dock. As long as you're able to hold on to one, and you only need 1 coffee, and you're able to get an alcohol, this will come into play pretty easy, as you'll get 4 mocha breads out of this. The problem is getting a coffee liquor is a little awkward. It's not a whole lot of routes that do it, but the common ones that do it are the ones that go between hospital and cemetery. So as you see, cemetery has coffee, while hospital has alcohol. So it's kind of an example we gave Zen Vitality earlier. This will allow you to make mocha bread without much of an issue, as long as you're very conscious about grabbing at least 1 coffee from cemetery and grabbing a alcohol from hospital. This will keep you very safe. This will give you some crafting mastery, give you a little bit extra XP, and just a lot of healing. The last one I want to talk about is healing potions. Healing potions are amazing, and I really cannot state they are. You can make these in such abundance if you find glass bottles. So glass bottles, there are a good amount of them on the map, and there is a very vast array of common builds that are going to go between Avenue and Pond, Chapel, Forest, Dock Forest, Dock Pond. You can think of a lot of examples of where you can grab these components. So Oriental herbs and flowers kind of come as a match. As we can see, the Oriental herbs come in Forest and in Pond, and flowers are also Pond and Forest. You can also find them in Cemetery and Uptown, but if we want to try to find these in pairs, right? So what ends up happening is you can make the 2 orchids, which are 500 healing, which isn't terrible if you need to use it in a pinch, but in a combination with a glass bottle, as we can see, it is adjacent to Forest, it is in Chapel and Avenue alike, right? Next to the zones where we want it to be, we can make 2 healing potions. This is kind of like the mocha bread store, where we get to make 4 of these for the price of 1, or price of 2, I apologize. And it's very common to find these in abundance and just have a full inventory of these foods. This is more meant to be kind of a guide to explain the mid to late game foods, the foods that are going to be the most important and the most common. There are a lot of emergency foods is the best way of putting it. So foods you want to make in a pinch, and I do highly recommend checking out the catalog in the game and checking out the food page, as there are a ton of foods that we could talk about. Like notable ones here, and I actually did miss one, in terms of notable ones, are the ice water, the cold noodles, as they're 650 healing. This is something you should be making if you have the opportunity. Ice and water isn't, you start with water, right? Ice isn't uncommon, and ramen. While there's still 2 zones where these directly connect, as we can see, there's a very, as you can see, they're right next to each other. So in hotel, you grab ice and you can make ice water, right? And then if you go to Archery Range, say you're in Nadine, for example, you can make cold noodles without much of an issue. This also goes for their builds that go to hospital into alley, right? Or cemetery into alley from TPing from hospital. We can make cold noodles there. Some of the emergency foods to note, or just early foods in general, you can make pound cake with your bread, with butter. This is not a food that you will make too often, but if you find yourself, let's say you leave hospital, right? And you have some milk and you need to go pond, and maybe you're seeing a lot of noise. You're like, okay, my inventory is clear. I don't need to worry too much. Let me grab one of the branches, probably say around where they connect, and let me make some pound cake to make my life a little easier. There is also A lot of different heated foods you can make. So if heated oil and let's say eggs, you can make scrambled egg, boiled water, you can make curry. While these foods aren't good, a very common one's fried chicken to 510 heating oil and meat. So there'll be times where you find heated oil, often RNG drops. So let's say a bear or a wolf, and you're just like, oh, I need some food, and then make some fried chicken. There are a lot of different just emergency foods you can make, and I really do highly recommend checking out all the foods you can make. I'm trying my best to break this down with the most important foods you will need to help you succeed in your games. At the end of the day, I can't tell you everything or give you every variation possible, as this will be a 5-hour video, but I hope maybe the tips I gave you here today can be applied to your future matches. And if it did help you or you did enjoy it, you can leave a like down below or leave a comment of what you want to see next. Really, truthfully, I read everything and I reply to everybody, and it would mean a ton if you guys want to see more informative content like this, where maybe I just go on a ramble and talk about aspects of the game, maybe to help you out guys a little better. I'll be more than happy to do it, but there does have to be a request for it, because I know historically these videos don't do particularly very good. But as always, I do stream every day over at twitch.tv/Tomsorcer. If you do enjoy the video, you can follow me over there. And that's going to be all for me today, guys. There is no gameplay. That's it. That's all for me today. Hope y'all enjoy the videos, and I'll see you all next time.